Welcome. This is our introductory webcast here, just to give you a quick introduction of how the class is going to run. I'm going to briefly run through the do's and the don'ts of how to make this class really successful. So what I have up here on the screen right now is our IVY class, the opening of the syllabus. I've got the syllabus highlighted here. We're going to go through this in about 30 seconds or so, and then I'm going to spend just a little bit more time on the welcome document. At the beginning here is my email. Always use my email. I would highly, highly prefer you not use notifications or within the IVY Learn to contact me. Actually, just go to your email, your Ivy Tech email, and email me. That's the easiest way. It just saves on attachments. Attachments get stripped otherwise. We'll talk more about that in just a few minutes here. My office hours, this is for the fall of the 2019 semester. Yours, if you're watching this in a later semester, yours could be a little bit, my office hours could be a little different. Just always refer back to the syllabus that you have. For the text, the required text, there isn't any. That's a really good news for this class. I do not require you to have the text. If you want the text, it is here. It is available. Make sure you have the correct edition, whatever it has on your syllabus, just in case this is in a later semester. You don't need the text. You can use my subsequent videos that we'll have throughout the semester and all my notes, and then some just simple Google or IRS searches, and you should be able to get everything you need to succeed in this class. I'm going to come down here and highlight our due dates and deadlines. Basically with this class is I'm very strict on due dates. Unless you've contacted me well in advance, and I mean at least 2 days in advance, I do not allow late work unless there was an extreme situation where a close relative who lived with you died, or you were hospitalized for more than a day, and then you show me your documentation like an obituary with your name in it and the deceased, or a hospital statement showing the dates that you were there. So those are some of the extremes that would need to happen. Otherwise, all assignments are always due on Monday. Instead of the normal Sunday, which most instructors use, I do allow you to have that Monday in case anything would happen to the system, because sometimes it does get bogged down on Sunday evenings. Makeup policy, in a sense, as I just said, there is none. So just always assume that. Make your due date at least 2 days before mine. So my due date for this class is always Monday for almost all assignments. There are a few exceptions. So your due date should always be Saturday evening. Get your assignments to me by Saturday evening. Am I required to come to class? Yes, but only once for online students, and that is to take the final proctored exam. Most of you will want to take this at your nearest Ivy Tech location. For those out of state at that time or at any time that you may need to take the exam, you can do it through what's called ProctorU, but I do need to be notified to send them a proctor form, so then therefore you can take it through that service. It does have a fee, and the closer you are to the deadline, the higher the fee gets. This is again a reminder about my email policy. Do use my email. Do not contact me through notifications. I just highly prefer you not to. However, there are other good things in notifications within IVY Learn. And these are, and you may already have these set up, but these notifications will send you either an email or even a text message of when due dates are coming up, if you've got a grade posted, lots of different things here. And you can click on this link to get a better idea of how to set up these notifications. The last thing I'm going to look at here on the syllabus is the kind of assignments that we're going to have in this class. We're going to have a few discussion boards. I'm not real big on discussion boards, but they do serve a somewhat good purpose for this class, and I think you'll see that as we look at some of these potentially controversial subjects. They're not necessarily controversial, but they are things that with different opinions could go either way. I think they're kind of interesting, things that I've come up with. We're going to have some different quizzes through each of the learning objectives that we're going to have. And then in addition to the quizzes, we're going to have some end of chapter problems. I call them end of chapter. They're not really since we're not using a book, they're not chapter, but sections. We're going to be dealing with some journal entries, some T accounts, and then ultimately payroll registers and some IRS forms. And those will become due throughout the semester. We'll have one big comprehensive project. As I have stated here, you'll want to begin this in about week 3, and then you'll have plenty of time then to get it to me for review, and then finally have it submitted that beginning of the final week of class. But if you start it in week 3, you should have no problem going through and easily getting this done and not feeling crammed for time. It is a long project. It will take you quite a bit of time, so don't try to do it in the last week. And then finally, the exam, the part 1 is proctored. That's the one you do either on ProctorU or at your Ivy Tech campus. And the second part is kind of similar to the take-home project. It is not proctored. You can do that on your own at any time and then submit it to me. Kind of give you a breakdown of the points of how everything is laid out percentage-wise. You can see the exam and the project are a big part, almost 40% of the grade. And then our assignments, our actual problems, and so I think it's all laid out here pretty well. We're going to scroll over now to the welcome document. The welcome document, you can find that inside the modules. When you go into the modules and then you go into the welcome assignment, you will then find a link to this welcome document. And I think this is so important that everybody read through that I've actually made it just a tiny mini assignment. It's only worth 10 points. What you're going to do is highlight, copy, and paste into the assignment area in IvyY Learn there. And if you simply put in the 5 correct answers, then you get your full points. It's really easy. It's just my way to make sure you've read. So your answers will look something like this. It'll say answer 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So this is obviously not one of the answers, just an example. But you would copy and paste payroll is fun, and then submit that inside our assignment here, where you would click on the welcome assignment. Then there will be a place for you to submit. You can put this either in a Word document or simply write in the text of the assignment, not even have to copy and paste into a Word document if you don't want to. But putting it into a Word document is definitely acceptable. All right, let's go back. We're going to go through this welcome document. Take us about another 5 minutes or so. And then the subsequent video, our first real video for the class, is the only one that is required. And it is a very important one. We're going to go through all the basics of this class, including journal entries, T accounts, and how to make and set up your first payroll register. But for this class, for right now, with this welcome document, couple key things. We've already discussed the book. You don't absolutely have to have it. Important due date here always is going to be Monday, except for a few instances, and one of those being the discussion board. So late work, when we're dealing with assignments, don't email me Monday evening or Tuesday morning and say, can I get an extension? I haven't been feeling well. It's not going to happen. That is a huge part for me of the college experience, is not only learning the actual material, but learning the soft skills of having things done ahead of time, just in case things happen and you don't feel well or you get family emergencies come up. You'll have it already done and you won't have to stress about it. So always get your work to me ahead of time. Discussion boards, when we do have a discussion board, we won't necessarily have one every single week, but most weeks we'll have one, just one. And the original post that you make will be due by Saturday, and that will give all the other students in the class time to see it and respond, since you are required to have 2 responses per discussion board. You'll have your original post, and then you'll go through and respond to at least 2 other students. The more you respond back and forth, even to say a student responds to yours and then you respond back, that counts as a reply. And as long as if you have sufficient amount of replies, you begin to earn some extra credit. So the minimum is 2 replies. If you have up to 4, you begin to get 1 point extra credit. 5 replies, 2 points extra credit, all the way up to as much as 5 points extra credit for the discussion board. So an easy way to get extra credit points. So these are always going to be due on Saturday, your original post. The follow-up, your replies due by no later than Monday night. All right, so here are some of the issues. Always make your due date at least 2 days beforehand. You're going to find that that's going to really help you, not in this class, not just in this class, but in life in general. If you do notify me, if something does major come up and you notify me, you've been keeping up on things, and you notify me by Saturday night, and the due date's not till Monday, I'll be able to work with you. I have no problem with that, and actually applaud you for working ahead of time. Always email me if there's issues. You can call me. It's not as convenient, but it's definitely an option. But email me is the quickest. I check that quite often. Any extensions are for that week only, unless specifically notified by me that you get an extension for a future deadline as well. So with each of the modules that we will go through, I will have a short video, somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes, to explain that week's material, so you don't have to try to learn it all by yourself. It'll be kind of like a mini classroom that you can do at any time, pause at any point. And I especially encourage you, and you'll see as we go through some of the lectures, we will pause, and I'll want you to work through some of the problems to see if you can do it, and then I'll go through the answers. One of the biggest feedback items that I get every semester is the opportunity to continually raise your grade and understand the material. And to do that, and also to encourage you to work ahead, I allow you to submit assignments to me via email, and I will check them over and mark all that are wrong. So for example, you will go into one of the quizzes for that week, perhaps, and I'm gonna pick one. Let's pick the Chapter 1 quiz. And we're gonna preview it. You're gonna see all these questions, and you're just gonna go through and select true or false, and then there's some fill in the blank, some multiple choice questions. Any of the multiple choice ones, just treat these as A, B, C, or D. There's no need to write out the word. Just tell me if the answer was A, you just put in A for the passport for question 13. So what you're going to submit to me, if you choose to do this, you don't have to, but it's going to look something like this. Your first few answers, true and false, you're going to put those down, and then if you have one wrong, I'm going to kind of give you a range, and I'm going to say, okay, one of the ones between 11 through 14 is incorrect. I'm not going to tell you which one, because that would be too easy. If I told you 12 was incorrect, you would know what the answer is. But I'm going to give you a range, and then you try to find which one is incorrect. If you can't find it, you might not want to change it, because if you changed 13 and that was the right one, now you've missed 2 instead of just 1. And then for the multiple choice items, this person didn't do this was an early on quiz, and instead of, you wouldn't want to put none of the above, just simply put D if that was what none of the above was, or E, and then if that is incorrect, I will highlight it in yellow, or whatever color. It's usually going to be yellow. And then if it's a multiple item, you can put multiple answers, and I'll highlight the item that is incorrect, that you have filled in the blank. And if you actually show me your work, I will indicate exactly where you are off on your calculations, and even give you a pointer or two typing out, and I'll highlight that as well to show that that's my typed work. So it would be something like this, where the answer is incorrect, and then I would highlight it, and I would tell you, I would give you more feedback, and then I would highlight it maybe in green to show that is my comments. So that's, if you want to continually to do well in this class, that is a huge benefit that so many people reply back to me at the end of class. Now let me get this out of here. Okay, now we're going to finish up with our welcome document here. Just got a couple more items to discuss. So when you submit me your answers, as long as you get them to me by Sunday evening, now that's a quick turnaround because assignments are due by Monday evening. but I will get them back to you by Monday afternoon, usually by no later than 2 or so. So you still have the whole rest of the afternoon and evening to get that turned around. Now, if that's too much of a too quick, I understand that. You may want to submit it to me by, say, Friday. If you get it to me by Friday, I'll turn it back around to you within a day. So you'll have it for Saturday or Sunday for sure and have a little bit more time. The final project, we talked a little bit about that. I've got the due date here. Notice it's the week before we are done. It's that week before. You are allowed to turn your project into me up to 2 times, and I will go through and highlight what is wrong or incorrect and give you some pointers. We'll talk more about this as we get into Module 3, Week 3. But basically, you would want to submit me your project when you get done with the first month, which is October. That's a really good spot not to go through the rest and potentially be doing it wrong the whole time. And then your second review would be when you're complete, and then I go through and check to see how much you have still to correct. And hopefully by that third time you submit it for real, for grading, you should have a very good grade coming up. Our exam, we just have the 2 parts of the final exam. Part 1 is proctored, Part 2 is not proctored. They're both due at the end of the semester. And then finally, I would like to know just a little bit about you to help, because in an online class, I don't get to know you that well, but this is a way to do it. All right, that's gonna conclude this welcome video. The second video in this first module will be complex and go through the journal entries, the T accounts, and the payroll register. And that's the one that's going to be required, and I will have some questions that correspond to that. With that, we will stop here, and I will see you in our next video.